The topic for today is the big beautiful bill and the immigrant impact there. What are the key immigration provisions in the big beautiful bill that we need to be aware of?
So the government has decided to impose a large set of new fees. I will say that the people who are most impacted, definitely people on asylum, people on TPS, certain individuals who are on humanitarian parole, or people who are in the middle of a defensive case with the government.
Is this all implemented right now? So if I go out and try to get a stamp on my visa, I should see that $250 fee. Is all this like in place? Hi everyone, I'm Priya from It's Okay Yaar, and today we have with us Nicole from Manifest Law. If you've been here a while, you've probably seen Nicole in some of our videos, so she needs no introduction. If you are tuning in for the first time, check out the description box and you'll find all the details there. The topic for today is the big beautiful bill and the immigrant impact there. So Nicole, it's a top of mind question for many immigrants. We've heard so much about the big beautiful bill. I think if you can help us understand what are the key immigration provisions in the big beautiful bill that we need to be aware of, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. So I'm going to break it down into two main subjects, right? So let's talk about the first one, which is, let's call it the easier topic, fees, right? So the government has decided to impose a large set of new fees, for whether it's for non-immigrants, immigrants coming to the United States, individuals who are on asylum and TPS. And part of it is because, frankly, immigration needs more funding, right? And that might sound a little bit crazy because it wasn't until most recently, April of 2024, we just saw a massive increase in filing fees for everything. But the reality is that people forget that USCIS is a self-funded agency. So one of the things that they were trying to attempt to resolve was getting more funding for these agencies to run. That being said, the biggest fee that people are talking about right now is the non-immigrant visa integrity fee. So what is that? It's kind of a bond. So whenever someone gets a visa at the consular level, let's say you got an H-1B approved, right? And you decided to go to the US consulate in India to get a stamp put into your passport for the H-1B. When you get that stamp, the officer will charge you an additional $250 as part of this visa integrity fee, basically saying this is a deposit. If you manage all of your compliance and you end up ultimately leaving the country and complying with the terms of your visa, we will give you this $250 back. That's why it's kind of like a bond, right? This applies to all non-immigrant visas: students, agricultural workers, seasonal workers, right? Extraordinary ability visa holders, right? So this is something that I would take into consideration when you are going to be applying to these visas, which is that there is going to be a bit of an increased cost, right? Another big one that's being actively discussed is the annual fee that they're going to be charging people who are on pending asylum, right? So if for every year that you're on pending asylum, you're going to be paying an annual fee to maintain that pending asylum status. There is a really nice website. It's the American Immigration Council's website that lists out what all of the proposed fees and the structure is going to look like. I highly recommend people go to the American Immigration Council's website to see this particular chart, because they did a really great analysis of HR 1, which is the name of the bill. It's proper citation, right? And you will see all of the changes that they propose in terms of the fee structure. I will say that the people who are most impacted, definitely people on asylum, people on TPS, certain individuals who are on humanitarian parole, or people who are in the middle of a defensive case with the government, where you're in the middle of maybe removal proceedings and the like, right? So that's kind of the first section of the biggest impact, right? The second section is the amount of funding that the government is providing and the amount of support that the government is finding in enforcement, right? So this is a bigger picture play. I want to take one step back before HR 1, right? What we've been noticing is that the government has been trying their best to slowly turn USCIS and a lot of aspects of DHS into more of an enforcement agency. So previously, a lot of the enforcement was handled by ICE, right? ICE does all the raids. ICE is the one that reaches out, gets all the individuals. But they're starting to kind of connect the dots and have USCIS get access to resources like the IRS system, right? They're opening up the Social Security system as well to try to figure out ways to see who is compliant and who is not compliant, right? So this is just another lever that they're pulling. Hey, we're going to give the Department of Homeland Security more money, more sources of funding so that they can enforce more of these immigration policies. So how does that work on a practical level, right? Imagine that instead of what it used to be like, where enforcement, or let's say the analysis happens every time that you're maybe entering the country, or when you're traveling, or when you're applying, it might be earlier. You might see more people like snooping around on LinkedIn, a USCIS officer looking on your profile page to just make sure that you are working where you're supposed to be working, right? So overall, enforcement is going to be a bigger thing, a bigger play, because now USCIS and the relevant immigration agencies are going to have access to larger funding for it. Employers should be way more careful about compliance. Please consider I-9 audits. Take a look at your I-9 documentation. For individuals out there, it's also, hey, make sure your pay stubs are accurate, right? Make sure you have all of the documentation to show that you're legally allowed to work here in the United States, right? All of this stuff, compliance, 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 is what I am seeing like big alarm bells coming out of HR 1, because look at all the funding that they're going to be issuing to enforce some of these, let's call it raids, reviews, and audits.
Got it. No, those are all super helpful. I just have one question before we wrap it up. Is this all implemented right now? So if I go out and try to get a stamp on my visa, I should see that $250 fee. Is all this like in place?
No, not yet, not yet. Right? I think we will be getting more updates as the coming months kind of go on. It usually does take time for these policies to be directly implemented, but when we have updates, we're more than happy to share it with your viewers as well.
Okay, fantastic. So this video was created on July 18, 2025. So as we have more updates, we'll make sure that we bring Nicole back. But everyone, It's OKR is not a law firm. Our idea behind It's OKR is to connect you with the right law firms and make sure that you have enough resources and information that you can ask the right questions to the lawyer, because you are paying a lot of money. So you want to make sure that you make the best use of that time. With that, we have partnered with Manifest Law so that you can get an additional discount if you work with them. So please check that out in the description box. With that, this is Priya signing off. And if things aren't going your way, remember, it's OKR, because they will eventually turn around. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.